I'm Cathy.
And this is Maggie Mae. Join us as we follow the moon. We are right now in Carlsbad, New Mexico. And when you think of Carlsbad, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind,
The desert.
the desert,
Yeah.
the caverns. Well, we want to show you a few things that are a little bit different than that in Carlsbad. One of which we're at right now, a waterfall that we had no idea existed in this area. We're about 40 miles southwest of Carlsbad, and we want to show you around here and a few places around the town in Carlsbad that are really amazing. So come along.
Thanks.
Now, this is the scenery as you leave Carlsbad, and it's beautiful desert scenery, but it changes and changes so quickly that you're going down the road and all of a sudden you see the mountains off to the side, and then pretty soon you're driving right in between them. A lot of it is cattle open range grazing, so they do have the cattle grates in the road, and they seem to be pretty tame. They seem to be pretty used to people being right up there around them.
I can't imagine having all that for their diet, though.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's enough greenery out there to sustain a cow, but
They manage.
they manage. But yeah, beautiful scenery on our way out there. It's probably close to an hour drive, even though it's still a Carlsbad address. Here we go with our cattle grates. But when you get out there, this is Sitting Bull Falls, and when you get out there, this is the parking area, just surrounded by these peaks. There are two trails, and one will take you clear up to the top of the waterfall. It's about a 4 to 5 mile round trip hike. The other one is less than a half mile. It's all paved, and it takes you to the base of the waterfalls. That's the one we chose to do. It was a hot day, and we didn't feel like we were quite up to the steep, hot hike. It's a $5 charge for a carload up to 9 people. If you're in a bigger vehicle with more than 9 people, it's $10.
I love their little covered picnic areas.
And there's a lot of them around there too, and they were all being used.
And there's restrooms there, too.
This is what the walkway looks like. It's all concrete walkway with guard railings all the way around it. Very easy walk. And there's the falls. That is one of the prettiest falls that I've seen in a long time. It's about 150 foot high. And they said if you do take the longer loop that goes up on top of the falls, that you can see the actual spring, and there's some pools up there also. The water runs just a short way from the falls, kind of basically out by the parking lot, and then disappears, and they said it goes down into the groundwater and eventually resurfaces into the Pecos River.
This was just the most amazing thing to see, to come upon and see. And it was really nice because there were just a few steps taking you down to this bottom level.
Yeah, from that observation deck, you can go right on down to the pools. There was a lot of people while we were there that day that were getting in the water and swimming, but they do have notices online on the website that there are leeches present in the water, so just be aware of that if you do get in.
And they were also squealing with delight at how cold the water was.
I'll bet it was too. But there's the water running off from it and going down. The water's just crystal clear.
There's actually a second break from that fall that goes down off to the left there, that if you go beyond the trees you can kind of worm your way through. It's kind of you have to think about rattlesnakes and scorpions and things, so you have to be careful what you're climbing around through. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is kind of our first taste, especially my first taste of this type of country, and it's magnificent.
It was actually a delightful surprise to find it, because everywhere you go, you can see those stairs off to the right there. Everywhere you go, everything else just felt real flat.
Mm-hmm.
Even at the Guadalupe Mountains, it's just flat.
Well, we came back into town and decided it was time to treat ourselves to a nice meal, and boy, was it a nice meal.
Oh, this is the place.
Yellow Brix, to me, this is a must go to when you're in Carlsbad.
Middle of the day, you've got live music.
Yep, and they've got seating indoors, but everybody was sitting outside. When we got there, it was kind of middle of the afternoon. By the time we left, it was getting packed. But great menu. I mean, you name it, they have it. We thought New Mexico, everything's going to be Mexican food, and there is a lot, and we love that. But this wasn't necessarily Mexican food, like a mudslide.
Like a mudslide.
But they did have great margaritas, too.
Yes, yes.
The chips and guacamole and salsa. The salsa's like fire roasted tomato. It's so good. I got a side salad with mine. That was citrus vinaigrette on it. It was really good. Cathy had grilled salmon, mashed potatoes, steamed veggies. I had a tenderloin carne asada with roasted jalapenos and loaded mashed. They were out of this world.
It was really good.
Next up, we're showing you some things around Carlsbad. And Carlsbad, we're going to start at the Heritage Park. And the Heritage Park kind of pays tribute to how Carlsbad got started. And you think about in the 1800s, the technology that was out there, the roads weren't there. This was one of the first permanent structures, the Eddy House. It actually was built on a site which is now where their hospital is, about 2 miles away, and was moved to this park. They also have, this is a hay baling equipment. They had some farming and agricultural equipment on display. This was a road grader, and this is what the very first roads were put in Carlsbad with, was this road grader.
That's so amazing.
One of their stagecoaches. This little park sits up on top of a knoll, and again, it was active the whole time we were there, and it was put in by the Civilian Conservation Corps. The Pecos River Flume was also put in by the Civilian Conservation Corps, and this flume was designed to divert water from the Pecos River into 2 irrigation canals, one that ran to the east and one that ran to the south. So it would, in effect, with the river running through the town, it would surround the town with irrigation water. This was up on top of the flume. Looking out, you can see the Pecos there in the distance.
It's a beautiful structure.
That's over 100 years old of concrete, and it does drip down through there some, but it's still doing the job. There had been a wooden one, and the wooden one collapsed after only a couple of years, and that's when they had the Civilian Conservation Corps come in and help design this concrete one. Just down from that is the Carlsbad Spring Park. Very aptly named because this part of the Pecos, which in town is actually called Lake Carlsbad, is fed by springs. I can't tell you for sure how many. I think there's 5 springs that feed it. This is spring number 3, and you can see the water pouring out there into it. This is where the actual spring is. So even after they're diverting off water for irrigation, there's more coming out at the end than what there was going into it. Now just downstream a short ways is Friendship Park. Friendship Park has a great little playground area.
They utilize this little reservoir.
Yeah, they sure do.
Both sides of it, all the way.
Carlsbad Lake is busy on both sides of the water. Now the train you see here is part of the Potash Railroad, and that was actually part of the Death Valley Railroad line. That was what came through and serviced Carlsbad. And this is their beach park. This is like their big city water park.
Beach in the middle of the desert.
That's right. Carlsbad really kind of is that, just a little oasis in the middle of the desert.
Look at that water.
Now, when we were there, they were having a big event that was, I'm not sure if it was food driven or what driven it was, but they were packing people into this Riz Park. And they had food trucks set up, and there just wasn't a parking space to be had. But
it was nice to see them utilizing the area.
And they really do. You can tell the people in town, the water is the big attraction.
Absolutely.
And as long as you've got the water, they'll have an event.
That's right.
Now, right across the lake from there is the Pecos River Park. And this is kind of at the bottom of the main section. They've got a bridge that goes all the way across it, and it makes all kinds of noises as you go across, but I did to get you this shot. And there's people fishing out there all the time.
And right at that part, that walkway just behind there is another children's park on that side of the river. Water, whatever.
Yeah, it really is a river, but they call it the lake. Now, not just for people to use, but the city of Carlsbad has an enormous dog park that you can see is right there on Lake Carlsbad. So the dogs get to enjoy it too.
Oh yeah, and that's a lot of space for them to run.
And there's a small dog park at the end of that too. Now at the very end of this region is the Bataan recreation area. And this area has the Carlsbad Veterans Memorial. These are pictures of 12 people who lost their life in the Vietnam War, who are on the Vietnam Wall. They do have tank, they do have a helicopter there on display. They have several memorials going around the park. This one's the largest, and each of those stones is in memory of veterans of a particular war from the Spanish-American War on up to present day. My understanding was there was an air base at this area, and that was a little top secret concrete bunker that was there. But this is why I said this is kind of at the end of it, is this is where Lake Carlsbad kind of officially ends. You'll see there's a road there that goes around it. There you can see the break where the water is coming over. and it flows right there underneath the road and goes out and becomes the rest of the Pecos River.
Mm-hmm. And that's a beautiful area too.
It is. Well, Cathy, what did you think about our time in Carlsbad, New Mexico?
I thought it was really beautiful. I love it here.
It really is a pretty town, and you can see with the heritage how important first getting the railroad and getting irrigation water into this town was, and that helped make it strong and stable for the tourism that was to follow. So with that, we hope you've enjoyed our video today. If you have, leave us a thumbs up. We sure appreciate it. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please subscribe and ring that notification bell. That way you won't miss a single video.
And thank you for following us as we follow the moon.
Thanks for watching today.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel.
And be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out.
Don't forget to follow us on social media too.